Hi everyone, so we're going to jump into the Madeleine McCann case. If you've not seen this, please do check this clip out and I'll see you after the clip. Hi there everyone, so this is a bit of I think I'm going to be preparing to do an intuitive read on Madeleine McCann. If you know my readings, I've done one intuitive read which was on the submarine, the Titan submarine, and it was very evident that I was having the teen boy come through. I had no idea about it. If you tune into the submarine, you'll find that I didn't. And I knew that past this, and I mentioned in that reading that people or channelers will eventually, he's going to come through to a lot of channelers or channelers that he feels comfortable with, because I was getting him coming through. I didn't go down that route, although I did voice some of what was coming through to me, and I said I might do a second version. But I did say after this reading, I'm sure a lot of channels, I did say that I think he would come through. And after my reading, because I did it straight up before there was an outcome, before there was even more media on, elements of what could have gone wrong, and I was going to do a second intuitive read. You can check that out, because what I'm trying to say is my style of reading, and it's not to jump on the bandwagon of what news is. Back in, I think it's May or 2-3 months ago, I again, via YouTube, opening YouTube, where there's bulletins going across your page as you scroll down your feed of whoever you subscribe to, or in general, when I click to my channel, I'd see bulletins of Madeleine McCann, and I was like, Sky News, okay. And it was like, they have a new suspect. And this suspect is someone who's a prisoner, apparently. And that they found new evidence, something about a phone. And then I saw that they are now searching a lake or a sea. And I found myself really rattled, because I don't really watch news. I was like, now they're searching certain places they mentioned. I'm going to dive into this a bit more. And then after that, I was like, I wonder if I need to do an intuitive read, because I've been getting stuff and I think things need to be straightened out. I think 2 days later, it was still very much on my mind, and so was possibly Nicola Bully after that, after a couple of weeks. So that might be another intuitive read I do. And I woke up, my crown chakra was just, all day I could not function. It was very heavy and I had to protect it. What I'm trying to say is something that I do not have full details of. And obviously at the time I did hear of it. I'm very also not like, oh, this is the parents, or this is an abduction, or whatever it is. But for me, I'm getting, it's either Madeleine spirit, I'm being pushed to do this intuitive read. And I say this because at the moment it's silence again. But I believe there's certain things that I'll go into at the beginning of the read that are calling me to the read. And I'll see if that's going to come up in the reading. We can see together. I know that I think people have tried to connect with her, or channels. And what I understood at that time is that she was very quiet and reserved. My reading is going to be, when I say preparing, I won't be studying it. So again, I'm going to come with possibly where you're going to fill some gaps. But I think that's the nice thing of it, because I don't want to come with biased ego of other channelers. Like I mentioned, I think I saw a clip of a channeling a while ago, a few years ago, and that she was quite reserved. How trusted this channeler is, I do not know. But for me, it's about elements of the crime. And I'm getting pushed in this direction. And I don't know if it's because, again, it's a young voice. Like last time, it was about the teen kid came through. If I feel the energy come through, I will tap into it. And it might not be the first one I do, all right? But I obviously am being called because there's an element that I think needs covering, and there's missing pieces that are not making sense to me. And but I'm going to look into like the date of birth, numerology as I kick it off. I'm not going to be looking at investigators or anything like that. I know a lot of people said about the parents. I might watch a clip about the parents in a interview a long time ago to see if I can see energy. But again, I'm coming in neutral. But I do feel like there's something missing. And with regards to the person they've got as a suspect at the moment, I'll go into that as well in terms of my feelings towards that. I think I'm being pushed in this direction because there's a lot of people that jump on the bandwagon of things that are popular to do so. And there's something about when you're dealing with people, when you're dealing with real cases in the spirit world, you need to be authentic and you need to be true and you need to be doing it to give a voice, to find a solution. And that's why I'm going to be doing it. And so, yes, I might not be your juiciest, but there has to be. I inserted that clip was really to give you an idea of why I'm doing this. Obviously, I got triggered by that news bulletin, and since uploading that video, which I recorded and uploaded straight away, I put as a premiere an hour later, I believe. I have been researching. So where I said that I wouldn't look into stuff, I've not been looking into psychic predictions, tarot readers or channelers. I had seen a part of a channeling that was done, I think 7 years ago. And the lady had said that she wasn't really coming forward with whatever. And I don't want to murky sort of what could come through, because even subconsciously hearing stuff can make you deliver your own message by tying in with what you've heard. But I did decide to look at the case and get up to speed with the case. And the more I was trying to do that, the more I found loopholes. And the more I also found that there was things that were just repetitive. And I still have probably a few more things that I want to look into. So I think this part is going to be segmented in parts, and there's going to be uploads or parts added to this regularly. As we go along, I'll be open to comments. What I do want to say about that is comments need to be constructive. Any comments of hate, any comments of disagreement is fine. If it's a comment of disagreement, everyone's entitled to their opinion. But any attacking comments against anything, or the case, or my channel, or anyone that's made a comment will be deleted. Anything that's just over hate will be blocked. This is actually to help bring light to a situation. I've been called to do it. It's not something that I generally do. And like I said, back in May, I don't watch the news. I don't watch celebrity stuff. I'm very much in sort of whatever is my fields. So as you're scrolling on your channel or YouTube, or if you get open YouTube, sometimes you'll see a bulletin, and I don't even subscribe to news channels. And it was Sky News with the update that the German police were investigating a prisoner. I'm going to say the prisoner, and it refers to Christian, okay? A prisoner who was in prison for, this is the other thing, raping a 72-year-old in such a brutal, disgusting way. And the sentence that was even mentioned disgusted me. But they had found evidence of a phone, and this phone, they just need to know, it's Christian's, but they need to know if he had the phone or not, because it was at the Pereira I'm going to say this wrong, de la Ruse, so I'm going to call it, I know it's P, well, I'm going to call it de la Rue's, just easier for me to, where they were staying, where the McCanns were staying. And they were trying to find out more information. And also something about searching a dam. I found myself really triggered. That I just suddenly put a comment that said, what is this, another distraction? And I meant a distraction for people and a distraction against whatever else might be happening within a country, the world, in terms of other stuff. And also, what are you saying exactly? Are you saying that you never searched the dam? Are you saying that you never investigated someone that was in the area? What is being said? A phone, okay, received a call from the area or to the area, and not sure who had the phone. Very vague, but very promised that they felt very confident that this could be the person. And then when I heard the word the dam, which I thought was the sea, but when I've looked into this case, like I said, what I've looked into is just getting a background in terms of people that have been in the criminal sector, criminal justice, as a journalist, and that sort of stuff, just to get an idea. And I even feel that there's gaps there. So this is going to be going through that, getting us up to speed. And then there's also going to be obviously maybe some questions that I want to confirm with the tarot. I have had some kind of downloads of things that come through, like a name has come through to me, not of the criminal, but I think it ties in with maybe you know, something that comes forward. And questions about what happened, obviously. Questions then that could be directed to Maddie, whether she chooses to come forward, depending on what part we're doing. So there's channeling, there's a tarot confirmation, there's the actual story, there's what happened in the story, there's where we are now, there's also the channeling of maybe soul contracts, is there going to be epiphanies, etc., etc. So there's a lot to cover, more than the original just channeling Maddie or through the cards, and if Maddie wished to step forward. The other thing that I wanted to say, this is for entertainment purposes only. So all throughout the parts and everything on my channel is for entertainment purposes only. You will know why I'm stating that. And this is based on tarot. It's based on stuff that I've taken from, you know, I've even looked at a couple of videos of the parents, because they were saying about body language and stuff like that. So please remember, it's only entertainment purposes only. I am not stating that these are facts. You know what I mean. And everything taken where I talk about the lead up is from a famous journalist that was covering it, and a criminal profiler. I also looked at 4 professional behavioral readers, because I can read the energy, who were looking at a certain interview of the parents. I come to this, I honestly am not pointing in a direction. Even my 3D ego self, I am not pointing in any particular direction. I feel that messages come through to me in May that triggered me, and it was like, so going back to the dam where I said it was the sea, it was like the sea then became very potent in my mind. And I mentioned in that video about the crown chakra, which I'll go into a little bit more for a couple of reasons why I think that happened. So we've got a lot to cover basically, and please bear with me if I seem to go down one route and then I end up into another route, but then I pull myself back because it's trying to cover everything, and that's when I think we're going to have a couple of parts in it. So we'll start off with We know that Maddie was born in the UK, in Leicester, and she was born on the 12th of the 5th, 2003. She was 3 years old at the time reported missing. We suspect, obviously suspicion is that maybe that's the time also, or the date she was, if she's dead, she's dead. Professionals are saying for this longer period of time, it's likely to be that she is. We're going to pull a tarot card. Also, when I say I pull a tarot card, I might have my own channeling and messages from spirit guides. And bear with me as I read through that, where I'm talking about the case in terms of whatever is presented by media, journalists and professionals, and then also what tarot comes through, what channeled messages come through, and what might come through from spirit guides, the individual maybe herself. Born on the 12th of the 5th, 2003, meant she was a Taurus sun sign, in Leicester, the UK, and reported missing on the 3rd of May, 2007, age 3, which was 9 days before her 4th birthday. Maddie had one green eye and one blue eye in colour, and a black dot near her iris, I believe on the blue eye. She was blonde, as we know. I'm not going to go too much into it because you probably know. These are the things that I looked up. She had 2 siblings, which I believe were twins. And one was a boy and one was a girl, and that I believe they're still alive. They're probably around, seen as Maddie is now, I think she'd be 19, and next year she'll be, no, she's 20 now, and next year she'll be 21. Okay, she's been missing for more or less 17 years. Okay, now something asked me to look at the date of birth of the mum and the dad. I couldn't quite find it, but the mother is a Pisces. I found that. Numbers that were coming to me, and I'm going to go into further things that were coming to me when we start to do the channeling and the tarot. Numbers that I felt were significant were 3, 5, and 8. Age 3, obviously. When I added the number, the date of disappearance, it comes to an 8. Possibly the date of death, we don't know. 8 in tarot is about a transformation, is breakthrough. But the word that was coming to me was transcendence. Transcendence. And then I also got the word transcendence. Do you know when you listen to stuff and it's kind of like, why did that word come through to me? And that word repeats. And it was a confirmation for me. I also got quite a bit around the number 5, and her mum's number, numerology, would be 5. The personality of 5, which was quite charismatic, outgoing, sociable, seen as a good number. But I'm not diving into that. But I also realised that the number of the apartment they lived in was 5A. And I'm going to dive into where A stood out to me. I was like, why A? So that's the 5s that I felt were picking up. Then when I look at Maddie's numerology path number, it comes to an 11, a master number. 11 is spiritual, it's imaginative, it's loyal, idealistic, unmaterialistic, intuitive, able to guide others and herself or oneself. Some people could break that down, but you don't usually break it down. Now, if we do, that would mean, and I looked into the Rahu as well here, I've got it noted, but this was actually my notes prior in sort of June, when I was like, I need to do this channeling, it's coming through to me, or a reading. So I got Rahu, the North Node, which was around politics, media, and another word I've noted, which is very interesting. The North Node in your sign, if you're not sure, you have a North and South Node. And North Node for her was politics, media, and I've got some, I think this says engineering, but politics, media, engineering. Very interesting. Her North Node ties in with that. Now, if we broke down the 11 for, you know, we shouldn't, because that's what we've got. And the 11 is also attention seeker and can be flamboyant as well as realistic or materialistic, intuitive, etc. Which is very interesting because both of these, the amount of media coverage that this has got when a child goes missing every 5 minutes. And I also looked into the facts that 90% of children are found within like 3 days to a week of being reported missing. But there's the amount of children that have gone missing, and then this got worldwide coverage until today. Until today, and this things that I looked into, like there was 4 MPs from the UK that backed this up and really supported it, which I think is beautiful. But there's questions here about that. And there's questions about, until today, that's the other thing that I looked into. So these are the things that I looked into so that we can have the facts on the table. And maybe you have all these facts because you've been following it, but it was important for me to have the facts without actually, I haven't dived deep into like, what did the police report in Portugal state? There's a lot of different going back and forth because I don't want that to mix with what spirits, guides, and the tarot reading and the channeling is going to bring through. But I wanted the facts that we have in terms of media, police, investigations. I found that extremely interesting. Media, politics, attention seeking, etc. I also found the part of spiritual and the ability to guide others and oneself. And her North Node, media, politics. I'm going to get to that because that's what we're going to cover in terms of soul contracts element that I want to do about it as well. So I said if we broke it down, okay, even further, let's say for those that wish to, energetic, knowledgeable, clever, confident, leader, sharp memory, can be rebellious, and negative traits of this of Rahu is rebelling and overconfident. Now, I don't know if the negative traits of so the negative traits here, I'm not sure if I recall where it was saying that, I think it was a parent that said that she can be quite rebellious. Or was it that a parent, you know, it was saying that she was playing up that evening? I'm not really sure, okay? It could be someone that mentioned it in some sort of thing. So I'm just going to cross that element off of what we've covered, okay? So that's what we've covered, and I'm going to go into other things that came to me. I said about being called to do the reading, so we've done that. And remember, it's entertainment purposes only. So why is it getting this much covering? Is it because of political relationships? There was something about one of the friends that was on this holiday lived quite close to an MP down that street. So is that something to do with it? There's something there, because as I was going along and making sure I bring the facts, Operation Grange, which I believe is formed of Scotland Yard and is funded to do the, to look into this case and bring it to an end. I first got 20 million, but that was so many years ago. So up to today, the belief is 40 million has been spent on this case that I believe is no closer to where they were a week later from the date of what was reported. The 3rd or the 5th, what did we say? 3rd of May 2007. I've got so much information on my phone as well. Well, let's go into some things, right? I also want to ask the question and pull a tarot card in terms of, will this be resolved? Now, I just want to say, after I did that video, and obviously I knew that I had a calling, I pulled from this tarot deck saying, should I do a reading on Maddie? After I came back in July and I was getting the prompt again. I pulled the 3 of Cups. Bear with me. And as soon as I got that, actually it was before the video, to be honest with you. It was before the video, because I was sat exactly here and doing a reading for a client. Three of Cups, and again the number 3, okay? And I'm going to show it to you. And as soon as I pulled it, I was like, support, truth, soul tribe, which told me yes directly. So making sure truth is out there. Soul tribe, she's got the soul tribe, whether that's soul tribe and support of people on earth, or soul tribe, obviously it's at the bottom because of 3 of Cups. This is about having support, the people that are true, authentic, and support you. It's a number 3 again. Her age is number 3. There's 3 people on there, 3 siblings as well. Then, if you recall and saw that clip, I mentioned about a tarot deck I saw that I felt was calling me for the preparation into this. Okay. And the one I got, this is the new tarot deck, as you can see. You're going to have to bear with me when I use it. There is a booklet, so I will channel the message I get, but I'll probably read from the booklet so that we can gather the messages. It was Ubuntu, yeah, this is it, Ubuntu, which says compassion for others. Very similar. Supporting, being supportive to people, compassion for others. That was the next one I pulled from this, asking, are we ready? Okay, so that's that, okay? And honestly, for the past 3 days, that's all I've been looking into. The crime, the news, the media, and really getting on top of speed of stuff. What I realise and what is being stated is that the Portugal police believe an accident happened. This is what the Daily News said. An accident happened in the apartment, and so an accidental death. They don't have evidence, and they didn't want to rule out the parents. Now, when I looked into, obviously, it was then that there was a lot of funding put into Operation Grange, and a chief level investigator constable in the London Met was asked to take the case on, as the second person that was asked to take the case on. And he was ready up for it, but apparently a friend had contacted him saying that if you take this case on, you're not going to be able to investigate it the way you want to investigate it. So you might find it quite frustrating. And that might be because what I found is that Operation Grange agreed to only look at it as an abduction, which I found strange. But then only yesterday I was watching something, and this could be because the laws are, if you don't have a dead person, or the dead or the body, the person is still missing. And so maybe that's why they're looking at it as an abduction. So as you can see, I'm trying to be fair and justify where things might be not making sense. But still, I think you need to, when it gets to a certain stage, like 7 years ago, after 10 years of looking, start from scratch. Before that, start from scratch. As soon as you come in, even if you handle it as an abduction, start from scratch. Obviously, by an abduction, what does that mean? I'm going to get into that. So let's say that's why they call it only looking at it as an abduction, not anything else. But I don't think you should outrule what could be also, like, when you go through investigation, knock out everything along the way. This journalist also said that within a period of 2 years, 2017, 2018, Operation Grange only visited Portugal twice. And I think Maddie went missing in 2007. 40 million has been spent on this case. Nothing is anything closer. And it's not that there shouldn't be, but there's so many children that go missing. There's poverty happening. There's so much happening. And like I said, I think there's a sole contract around here. And we looked into her number of 11. I looked into her north node of Rahu. And I looked into the south node of the negative traits around, you know, but north node, the life purpose. And that's why it's gaining traction. But there's something behind it. And, you know, this journalist believes that it's because of political ties. I'm not necessarily saying that, but I'm stating the facts that what I keep hearing, that, you know, a friend had lived down the same street as an MP, and a lot of the MPs, that even as the MPs have turned over to be the leading MPs, has been for that, have supported and actually really wanted to fund this, which is a beautiful thing. But there's a reason why this case is out in the media and still ongoing. It's getting support from somewhere. The case being taken on as an abduction, and the parents from Operation Grange, okay, not being investigated or interviewed because it's an abduction, it's protected them from being interviewed, which I don't agree with. And like I said, I'm not pointing that the parents had anything to do with it or a certain person had anything to do with it. I do know that I was really rattled when I heard in May about, you know, this new person apparently that they had, the prisoner that I mentioned. And straight away, my intuition said, no, it's not that. And now what I think might just happen with all this, I'm going to go into as well. So we know that, and I also looked, and I will be looking further, that the building was sort of here, because there are apartment blocks, the white apartment blocks, and there's an alley here. Here is the window, and the front door is here. At the front here is the balcony door. Then there's the sort of wall, and then you have all of the buildings around. There's the pool, and then there's the tapas where they were going for dinner, lunch, and I think there was around 6 doctors or something that went on this trip. Both the parents are physicians, and they were going back and forth. And I believe the other parents had children, so I don't know what was happening in terms of checks. Was checks for all the children every half an hour? The other thing that was very unclear to me was, and until now it's conflicting, and it might be because whoever told the story, was the doors locked or unlocked? If the doors were locked, for me, yes, it provides safety, no one's stepping in, but what about a fire? At least if it's unlocked and there's a fire, people will run in to grab or say, hey, I get out of your apartment or whatever. And if they, you know, some people do that. If it's locked, if it's unlocked, would you do that? Leaving your kids there? Especially when one can wake up and a toddler can be like, where's mommy, where's daddy, walk out, and just like go looking for you, walk out the door. So that was very unclear to me, and I don't know, like one criminal profiler was saying it's because their story had switched. The last thing I saw that the balcony door was unlocked, the front door was locked, the window was, I don't know. Well, that's a question I have. Then, questions like, it was the mother that found it, I believe, and the mother, and this is something else that's conflicted by people that are reporting facts that I see. The mother reported it and then ran across again to the tapas, and what I understood is she was the actual second visit, and they were doing it every half an hour, and they'd done it on a couple of nights already. She was the second visit, and when she found Maddie wasn't there, she ran back to the tapas to say, Maddie's gone. Now, if a child has been taken out of the apartment, do you leave the other children and run back? Someone said, no, you wouldn't. I don't think I would, and I'd probably use my phone. And they were saying you can actually shout from this place to the tapas, help, or a shout, and they would hear you. The other thing is, when I was looking at the distance, that might not be possible. And so I do think a phone call would have been the best thing to do, and a reaction. Taking into consideration, I believe we all grieve differently, we all react differently to the way we're brought up. And so that's another element there that was brought up. Looking at the body language, again, no one to judge, because we all grieve in different ways. And I'm no one to criticize. And this is difficult because they are both physicians. If you think of physicians, they can deliver, they have to be very composed, deliver bad news and handle news and be calm and composed. And so they're already kind of trained in that. But I did feel a very big rigidity, inflation from the father, a bit tense, very tense. And I know that the mother and father's been criticised. I'm just saying in general, where I try to look at both sides of the equation. And I will come towards, when we're doing the reading, what I think is the case here. There's definitely where they've agreed and it's not wrong and rehearsed who will answer, who won't answer, even if they knew the answer, didn't know like the questions. Like you can take the first two, I'll take the second three. if I squeeze you or if I don't answer or look at you, you answer. There's definitely a rehearsal there. One thing that I heard is that the mother did not answer 41 or 48 questions out of 40 out of 41 or something. She only answered one question, which was final one. Do you know that if you don't answer, it could lead to whatever? And she said, yes, if that leads to whatever, right? Which is a bit surprising to me, because you're going to give as much information as you can, whether you're composed, whether you're in whatever, to the police. And they didn't like what the police were coming up with, you know, that an accident had happened in the home. And obviously the police might have indicated that they were involved. I also looked into the thing about the sedativeness, that the children were sedated, because that's what apparently the Portugal police believe, that Maddie was sedated. But then the two twins, when they got home, their hair strand was tested and there was nothing proving sedation. So even like what's been proven by the Portuguese, or what's been stated by the Portuguese, there's no evidence. A lot of this, there is no evidence, and that's the problem. But I did feel that tension from the father. I don't think necessarily if someone looks away from answering you or looks down, there is shame there. They did say, yes, we do realise the naivety, the shame of leaving our kids. Obviously, they did give an explanation. I noticed a lot of we, or as any parent would feel, as opposed to, yeah, I feel like this, I feel like that. There was a lot of confirming how others would feel, or, you know, we got a lot of messages from people and parents that felt the same way when they were answering questions. And the 4 behavioral analysis people said they believed that they carried the shame and they were telling the utmost truth in that interview, which is highly likely, because what were they stating? They were just answering the questions of what they know. And it doesn't mean that they're not grieving what's happened, whether there is some sort of involvement or not. They're just confirming whatever was said out their mouth, they were telling the truth. And there was some grief and there was some hurt behind it, which doesn't indicate guilty, not guilty, involvement, not involvement. Because there's no details really. When there was an interview I saw where, you know, I haven't read the book. If you've read the book, let me know in the comments. Where Kate McCann, the mother, was asked about the book. Was asked about, there's one about the book and there's one about Maddie's birthday. And she said something along the lines of, please research this. Yes, of course it's her birthday, and so we will be celebrating, but obviously, you know, we've got the book coming out as well. And I found that was really weird to state. It was like the book overrides it. Do you see what I'm saying? We will be doing something small, but as you know, we're having the book that comes out. Like, why are you overriding the importance of this book? It's important because it talks about the case, but it just felt like it came on top of the birthday, the anniversary. The other things were, yes, I held blame for a really heavy couple of days, something like that. And then the father, which could be either way. Sometimes you have to convince yourself to try and accept stuff. So it was kind of like, what's done is done. And so that could be taken out of context, like what they've done is done and they just need to accept it, or what's done and done, what has happened here. I'm just trying to accept it, and my way of accepting it is what's done is done, and I keep telling myself that. They're the things that I kind of picked up on. I think I'm going to wrap this up here into part 1. Part 2, we're going to go into abduction. We're going to go into the dogs. We're going to go into one of the sightings of somebody who was, you know, sort of suspected, and some of my more of my notes. And then it might be the same part. We pull a couple of cards on these things that I'm getting through. And we can go into the channeling and also the spirit and tarot cards. So I hope you stay tuned with us as we go through this journey. And I hope this also provided part 1 of really looking into setting the foundation, and also putting your trust that I've looked into things through facts and stuff, so that we can bring up to date the story, and also where I've found discrepancies, because that's the other thing. I may as well mention it now. While I was looking into this, when I saw that bulletin in May and I saw that 2-minute video via Sky News, I didn't see anything else. I thought the way they announced it was that this is the first time this prisoner, who I've already mentioned the name, is being interviewed. And it's not. The person was interviewed prior, and the reason the person was interviewed is because they lived in the area. I think they lived in a caravan. And one thing was about the phone, which it doesn't say who called who, who had the phone, but it was apparently his phone. The second thing was that 2 people that knew him broke into his van or home that he lived near, and they'd found recordings of you know, child paedophile stuff on there, but not of him doing it. So 6 stuff, which we're not saying yes or no. But what I'm getting to, this person was already interviewed. And then he was interviewed even 2 years ago. And so I just felt we're regurgitating stuff that you already know. And why are you bringing it to media? You're saying that you cannot disclose stuff. Apparently, you know, the German police don't want to disclose stuff, which I can totally understand, but it's to do with the phone, blah, blah, blah. Why are you bringing it to media? None of that is black and white. None of that tells us anything. And I was looking at the comments and people were like, oh, yes, great lead, la, la, la. We're not saying that this person needs help. They're not saying this person ain't sick or weird or whatever. And like I said, I was absolutely disgusted at the number of years for that sentence of what he's done as well. I think that's appalling. It's absolutely disgusting. No one learns a lesson in 7 years. And they've been interviewed prior and then eliminated. And the reason they searched the dam, because apparently these people that broke into his house, so they caused a burglary, have they been arrested? Through the camcorder and the gun they found in the dam because they were frightened to be tied to it. So then the police went and searched the dam for the camcorder of, you know, what 6 stuff was on there and the gun. Then the other thing was that he had told a friend, which I looked into, he had told a friend that, I have the exact wording, one second, I wrote this. So the friend or the ex-person who was talking about this to the prisoner that I mentioned, asked about the missing girl or was talking about the case, and the response was apparently, you know, what we've told in the news is that he had said, yeah, this is what he actually said apparently, and you can see how it's taken into context that he had the girl or carried the girl or whatever. carried Maddie. Strange, she disappeared without a trace. She didn't scream. So it's made like he had Madeleine in his possession. But what if he meant like, it's strange that this has happened and suddenly there's no trace, and even nobody had heard a scream or anything? And so hence there's a lack of trace. So can you see how, you know, the thing is with us, we all communicate in different ways, and it's very easy to suspect something. And that's why I said I try not to get too biased when I do these readings. I try to stay a clean slate, but these facts are really important for questions that we're going to ask. So is it a quick jump to conclusions because it's not proven? And I think I'm going to go into further elements in the next one. I think I've covered most of it. And yeah, let's go into part 2. Take care.